Work today? Hey, Jason. Jason, can you call Clayton? Police chief? No, 6 o'clock.
The meeting is now called to order. We have the opening, the invocation and pledge.
Let's bow. Our Father in heaven, we thank you today for the privilege to assemble here in this chamber, that we might participate in the government of the greatest nation on earth, Lord. We pray that you would guide our thoughts and our minds, make us one in purpose and ideas, that we might do our best to govern this city in the proper and right way. We ask that you would be in control of all our thoughts and ideas, that you might be glorified and that the people might be blessed.
Thank you, Jesus.
This we ask in Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
See it? We just had a reminder even before we start that we're going to try to talk a little better in the mic. That's the best we can do. Not used to it, but we're getting there. At this time, we would like to just recognize all our visitors and everyone that's here. We thank you for taking out of your busy schedule and joining us for our meetings. We know that not only does it take a village to raise, it takes a city and people to keep a city going. So thank you so much for your time. And that, did we have any, we didn't have anything. Comments? Council?
I want to make one comment. I want to commend our city workers for the hard work they're doing with our streets. They are continuing to push, and thank you, John, for covering more. We on the verge of covering more streets, and a lot of people keep on asking, well, what about the streets? Streets again done, and I commend them.
Thank you. I'd just like to note that we had our first Hispanic National Celebration holiday, that it was awesome. Rebecca did above and beyond, and the people were so excited. I didn't understand all. I couldn't quite use all my Spanish, as I should learn more. But at this age, you just give hugs and nods and encouragement. But there were several generations there, and it was such a mixture of our community in different activities. I think the Boys and Girls Club had set up even recruiting children while we were there. So it was a really nice, attitude was nice, and Rebecca just, for her first really big one, she's going to get a superstar. And we appreciate all that she did, and all of those that helped her get it done. I think they had a lot of sponsors too. Does anyone else have comments? Okay. So that brings us to item number 1, special meeting, September 6th.
I make a motion we approve the minutes.
I second the motion.
It's been moved and second. All in favor? Motion carries. Reports, the city administrator's update on our city projects.
Mayor and Council, I'm
trying to bring this to you every 2 to 3 months as progress moves forward in some of these projects. I want to just keep council advised of their status and things that we're adding to the list and things that we're completing to keep everyone a little more in the loop, and y'all can ask questions as we go down. The Texas Water Development Board project, that's the water lines for East Goliad and East Houston from the square to the loop. That is being completed now as we speak in the preliminary engineering phase, and it's going through the final stage of review through TxDOT. We've already done our part, so we're waiting on TxDOT's final approval. They're wanting our preliminary engineering, and that should move forward. We've already been given the nod of approval, just needs to be completed. The DRP, I'm sorry, the Texas Water Development Board, I mentioned TxDOT, that's the SIB, that's further down. The Texas Water Development Board is the one that's, we've already completed the survey, and the next step to do on that is go out for construction bids. So that's the phase that one's in. I'm sorry, I got those two mistaken. Downtown sidewalk construction, we submitted once, did not get approved because we had gotten the 2 previous ones. So we submitted again. Since we didn't get the last one, hopefully we'll move up on the list a little bit. And the application, it has been submitted for that. If we do get approved, we'd like to start. That should be able to be the construction start sometime in the first quarter of 2023. Our EDA water mains and street project on South 4th, the only thing remaining is them to complete the fiber optic conduits that are being installed down South 4th. And we're also in conversation with Houston County Co-op. They're applying for a grant for, they call it the Middle Mile Project for fiber optic. And they try to connect to all major infrastructure, large companies, public facilities. So one of our biggest public facilities in Houston County is they're out there on South 4th, the jail and the dispatch center and sheriff's office. So it definitely fits in their criteria. So we may be able to use them for fiber optic and eliminate the need for procurement between the two nonprofits. The SIB, I mentioned it a minute ago, that's the water main and street construction for 8 streets that council designated. That's the one that is in the application approval and preliminary engineering phase. Some of the streets that council wanted to see that we'll be talking about a little bit later as priorities, they are no longer in our in-house construction budget because the funding through SIB will address those streets. South 8th, or 10th and 7th, Grace, North and South, Bell, 5th Street,
Houston and
MLK, yes, sir, in Houston, and MLK. So those will address a lot of streets through a separate budget. The remaining USDA project, the only thing that left on that is we have some larger meters that were not installed yet because they needed one thing or another. Either it needed other things relocated, or it was in a concrete vault and needed to be moved. Just different things that the city and then we'll be working with to finalize that list. But most of all of our USDA radio read water meters, and then of course our water towers and storage tanks are done. The swimming pool, we sent that back to the engineer. He found some areas that were pricier than he expected as he was bidding it out this last go around. So he found some areas that we can save some money, and we hope that bidding for construction during the winter will also save us. Most of them added on 10-15% just there because they were having to construct it during the summer. And so during the winter, spring is better for them.
We like that 2023 pool opening summer.
That's what that's the goal.
That's the projection, all right.
So we're still on task for that. Application's been submitted for our warning sirens, the fire truck, animal shelter. We due to the people, the company we're buying it from, we were quite a little bit on the animal shelter, but the animal shelter has been purchased, and of course they have now found a place to relocate, and so they're in construction. And we expect that sometime within the next 5-6 months, they'll be moved out of the South Pine Animal Clinic, and we can move in our operations.
Awesome.
Park grant, that's been completed. We've closed out that project, and now we're eligible to apply again. And so we're trying to put that together, put a project for some more facilities in our parks. The sidewalk construction that's going in on East Goliad, that was part of a bigger project that didn't get completely funded. They did not fund Houston and Gray Street, but they agreed to fund East Goliad, and that's through the Safe Routes to School TxDOT grant program. We applied once again for a CDBG grant, and that's for sewer line rehabilitation to try to keep in compliance with our sanitary sewer overflow initiative with TCQ. We've also applied once again for the home program. We've completed it. We closed it out, and now they're getting close to opening up that program again. So keep that in the back of your minds as you find eligible candidates for that, and kind of keep a list, maybe email it to me, and as soon as we're able to start receiving applications, then we'll the biggest thing is if they're 65 and older, if they're living in in housing conditions that are not safe, unsanitary, in poor housing conditions, and they have to be the owner of whoever applies for it, they have to own the house that they're living in. And if they can kind of meet that criteria, those are good candidates to apply for this program. We're still moving forward with our downtown master plan. We actually, I've talked to the planner that we had been dealing with, trying to get back on his schedule. Some of the things that came up in our discussions, we've been continuing to approach some of the hot items like parking lots, some of the things that we wanted, and continuing to apply for the sidewalks. So that's going to continue moving forward. So far, the rezoning has proven to continue to attract more and more businesses in our downtown. Haven't really had many issues on that. We have people applying for specific use permits for living quarters, and to combine that with their businesses. So that's moving forward pretty well, positively as well.
It is.
And then on the back of that, I just did a little update on the streets that council's aware of that we've been working on. Other than some chip seals overlays that need to be completed, this rounds out our 2022 budget, and we'll be talking about our 2023 budget this evening, given some more streets to address.
Thank you. Any comments? We got a lot of things. Like I said, that's a lot of things that have been happening, and they're kind of on fast forward. We're a lot more than we've ever had.
Yes, ma'am.
John, is there any budget left for the sidewalks on Houston? Was there any of it that was left on that?
No, sir. It was all through. It was funded through TxDOT, so they only release enough funds to do the Goliad side. That is an annual program, so we can continue applying for it.
Yeah.
Because that's the key is tying all these neighborhoods into the schools in that neighborhood. So the Vista, the classical academy over there, that's really,
Drew that.
East Houston should have been their priority. But there was not enough. If they had to pick one, the budget that they released was not enough to address East Houston, so they just gave us the most,
They get complete.
the biggest amount that they could fit into that budget, and that's why they released Goliad and not Houston.
One thing it does with that, a lot of people walk, and they really did need more walking space on that side.
A lot of people in the street over there,
Yeah, I
walking
mean-
down the street.
Yeah, so even though it's enough sidewalks, I mean, but I did find out why people don't walk on the sidewalks in the morning. It's spiders hanging out of the tree. Take it from spider webs, spider. That's why I said, why don't they just get on walking? No, it's spider webs and things, all kind of things following you. But the sidewalk is nice when a car comes up and you can jump on it, okay?
Bowie was one that we applied for. There's lots of pedestrian traffic down Bowie. We also applied down Austin. MLK has sidewalks. We applied Austin. That got kicked out because of the railroad
Yeah.
track. They
Couldn't
didn't
afford to
approve
build
that.
that.
So we'll continue anything that we feels like can fit in that, their scope. We'll continue applying for. So if y'all think of any other good projects that we can put towards it, we will.
Thank you. Okay, that brings us to item number 3, Police Department Manpower and Criminal Incident Report for August 2022.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, City Administrator. This is the Police Department Manpower Criminal Activity Report for August of 2022. Total of 13 officers. We worked 2,685 hours, responded to 563 calls for service, worked 9 traffic accidents, made 61 arrests, issued 296 traffic citations, completed 95 reports, responded to 27 alarm calls, 20 of those were false alarms, 7 of them were not. And below that, you'll see a breakdown of individual criminal activity report. I'd also like to mention that just in less than a month's time after the last couple of council meetings, prior to that, the previous 8 to 9 months, like I told y'all, we had 1 applicant for our police position. In just less than a month's time after what transpired over the last couple of months, we've received 5 applicants for current positions. And I personally received 2 phone calls from former officers that are interested in coming back home. So it seems to be working. So I appreciate the work that y'all put in and Mr. Andrews' time. And I'll entertain any other questions you may have.
Well, thank you, Chief.
Appreciate it, Chief.
Thank you.
Okay, item number 4, Fire Department Monthly Activity and Status Report for August 2022. Good evening.
Jason?
For the month of August, Crockett Fire responded to 50 calls, 32 of those being in our city response area. We had 1 business fire, and there was 18 of those 50 calls that was in our county response area. We responded to 1 residential fire. There's a further breakdown in front of y'all. If y'all have any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer.
Okay, you said that, just for conversational, that it's getting better now that you're better staff, you're able to handle it, your overtime?
We're making it, we still need volunteers. That side of it is, we're always looking for volunteers, and I actually got 2 on my desk that came in Friday when I wasn't there. So, and we got 2 in Fire Academy right now that should be finishing up this week, so they'll be a better trained volunteer for us. So we'll send you to school if they're willing to put in the time with us and train them. So
Well, that's good.
looking good. Our future's looking good.
Well, we're glad. It was scary there for a while until we got a little rain, really scary. Does anyone else have any? Well, thank you, Chief.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Okay, we're back to our business. Item number 5. I'm gonna read it from here. Public hearing on request from Josh and Ashley Crabtree for a zone change from C2 commercial to R3 multiple family residential district for property located at 406 East Bonham Street, previously known as 403 East Bonham, and identified as a parcel, as parcels 3374 by the Houston County Appraiser District leader. Legal description being all that certain tract or parcel of land located in the city of Crockett, Houston County, Texas, and being further described as 0.0503 acres of land in the A.E. Gossett Survey A-423, Houston County, Texas, and being more particularly described by meets and bounds on Exhibit A of a deed from Michelle Ann Mantony Pounders to Josh Crabtree and spouse Ashley Crabtree, recorded as instrument number 20221558 of the deed records of Houston County, Texas. Got there.
Public hearing.
All right, this is the public. And it's open for the public hearing. Has anyone
Give me an idea where that's at.
electrical?
I knew you would ask.
By the
It's,
Telephone
Yeah,
places?
it
See
used
this
to
right
be-
here on the screens?
Yeah.
Um,
Oh, okay, I remember that house.
This is,
Building.
this is Fifth Street on this side,
Yeah.
Used to be the credit
and this will be,
union.
Fourth
Yeah,
Street
that's
down
what it used
here.
to be, the
was
credit
the-
union.
The credit union
Oh, okay.
on that.
They want to make it to an apartment or something?
So the request is a commercial, it's currently zoned as commercial, and the request in R3. They're wanting to convert it to up to
Multifamily.
3 residential uh, kitchenettes, small apartments.
I think people have been living
If
off in
you want to speak, you can.
Oh,
Yeah, it's a public hearing.
It's a public hearing.
Yeah, it's a public hearing, yeah.
Efficiency, like it is with the Farm Bureau, the old Farm Bureau, Fever.
No, ma'am.
Okay.
No, that's off of West Goliad.
No, she's saying, is they trying to do it like
like they made
did
that, as that, they turned that into, I think it's.
Yeah, they turned those into little small apartments.
Yeah, they converted theirs from commercial to residential and did some apartments in it. Yes, ma'am.
So this was their plan on doing here.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
At, Old Credit Union.
Yes, ma'am.
Does there, anyone else have any comments? Statements?
I'll comment during, so during this process, they did apply for it. We did have a public hearing with P&Z. There was a 3-0 vote for the recommended change during P&Z. No one spoke for or against it during P&Z as well. They're asking for short-term rental hosted on Airbnb and or long-term rental if necessary. But that's what they're trying to do, is use it as a more of a short-term rental Airbnb type facility.
And one thing they do, they have more parking space than, it would be,
The sketch that they had,
He's on the little sketch.
the sketch that they had,
oh, that was just, I think they said where it was located.
right there.
Oh. Okay.
This is a list of everyone that received notice within 300 feet of the parcel.
I know.
You
Got
being
one.
one.
You got one too? Yeah, they did send them out. Yeah. Okay, are there any other comments? If not, the hearing is now closed. And y'all can read along with me. Do I need to reread it? Okay, gotta reread it. Okay, consider and approve a request from John and Ashley Crabtree for a zoning change from C2 commercial to R3 multiple family residential district for property located at 406 East Bonham Street, previously known as 403 East Bonham, and identified as a parcel 3377 by the Houston County Appraiser District. Legal description being all that certain tract or parcel of land located in the City of Crockett, Houston County, Texas, and being further described as 0.0503 or of land in the A.E. Gossett Survey, A-423, Houston County, Texas, and being more particularly described by meets and bounds on Exhibit A of a deed from Michelle and Mantley Pounders to Josh Crabtree and spouse Ashley Crabtree, recorded as instrument number 202215558 of the deed records of the Houston County, Texas. Okay. Council?
I make a motion, we approve the request from Josh and Ashley Crabtree for zone change from C2 commercial to R3 multifamily.
Second.
It's been moved and second. All in favor? Motion carries. All right. Item number 7, consider and approve a resolution for the City of Crockett's hazard mitigation plan.
Mayor and Council, this is our 5-year hazard mitigation plan that we just completed. This is the plan that I sent to Council over the past couple of weeks for review, and this has been about probably an 8-month process and developing alongside our emergency management in Houston County. It's been approved at the FEMA and TDM level, and so now it's in our hands to adopt the 5-year plan. This plan is critical for the city to have in place in order to pursue grant funding after a FEMA declaration of a disaster. And a lot of the scope or priorities that we say that we want to achieve during this process need to be spelled out, what we believe to be our highest disaster prone or our highest prone disasters, and things that we can do to, if we did have that type of a disaster that's unavoidable, that we not be impacted as greatly. Low-lying areas, houses in flood-prone areas, structures that are not wind resistant. As council approved, and I mentioned a minute ago, we have one of our projects is through this hazard mitigation grant is for storm sirens. Mm-hmm. And so that was one of the items that we said that we really needed, and now there's funding out there, so this hazard mitigation plan kind of falls into that.
Now, one of the things it does, you don't have to guess at where it needs to go. We're no more specifically. I know we spent a lot of time trying to figure out where those holes were when we had our last few little disasters, but now we have a plan up front. I think that's a great thing.
I make a motion to approve the resolution for the City of Crockett Hazard Mitigation Plan.
Second.
It's been moved and second. All in favor? Motion carries. Item number 8, consider and approve reappointment of members to the Planning and Zoning Commission.
Mayor and Council, I have a list in your packets. Mr. David Tyre, his term expires, and Mr. Greg Simon, his term expires, and they both are willing to serve another term.
And I will say one thing, they probably have had more meetings than in the history in such a short time. And I think that's a good thing, even with the number. And they've had a lot of input on things that we really didn't consider, like when we were doing the downtown revitalization and all of that. So I think this has been one of the most active they've been in a while, and they've been worked well as a team. So my recommendation is that if they want to work again, to consider them.
I make a motion to approve the reappointment of.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and second. All in favor? Motion carries. Okay, number 9. Consider and approve a resolution and agreement with the Texas Department of Transportation for the temporary closure of state right-of-way for Christmas in Crockett. We have a Christmas in Crockett person.
We have a Christmas in Crockett person.
Did you want
There
to
she
say?
is. She did fill out the application and submitted all the required application for us to send to TxDOT as well, but this is one of the requirements is for us to approve it. I have a map in here somewhere. None of that's changed. Same.
Well, the only change that we have, and thank you for letting Steve Mayor and City Administrator Council Member, the only thing that did change is we want to go a little further if we have to, down Goliad towards the cabin, to go down, I realize that's a steep incline, but instead of having so much traffic on Camp Street where we can't get an emergency vehicle through there, we want to have, just kind of take it down one block. That's the only change that we made.
Actually, we have more business that are open down there than before. That's gonna be a big thing. That's a good direction to go in because it'll include all of our quite a few new businesses. All right. And yes, it's always such a wonderful time. I can't believe that many people come to Crockett year after year.
Are they supposed to be totally up and out of the way of the road by 5 o'clock, or start tearing down?
We close at 5, so we shut down at 5, and then they have, we try to have them out by 7.
Yeah.
It just kind of depends, a lot of our, especially on Third Street, we've got vendors on both sides. So they're usually packing up between 4 and 5. Have you got a concert that night?
Mhm. But I'm gonna bring them in the back.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a good thing. I mean,
Yeah.
just to identify it up front before it starts.
Yeah.
I know we ran into a little conflict last time.
Yeah, it was rough.
Yeah, I had
Real
forgotten
rough.
that. I wasn't prepared for that one. I hit the wrong shoes.
I didn't have those stairs then,
Well, that's great.
those $20,000 stairs.
Hey, well, I get they're on the stairway to heaven now. All
Yeah.
right. Okay, was it already on the floor? Did we have? Okay.
I'll make a motion, Mayor, Council, that we submit this resolution with the state for the
Second.
closures of roads.
Second.
It's been moved in second. All in favor? Motion carries. Thank you. Looking forward to it. Item number 10, consider and approve a resolution for amendments to fiscal year 2022 budget.
Mayor and council, I have the amendments in front of you. As you know, this has been a busy year where lots of money has come into the city that was not expected. Some of those that we know or expecting but don't know the amount, we put that in the budget and then make amendments as the funding comes in, so we can expend it for construction, primarily grant-related funds. But I have a breakdown. We are about 93,000 under target for our ad valorem taxes. It's a little less than last year. We are trying to close that gap. Most of these are made up during the following year under delinquent tax bracket. Our city sales tax has increased by 180,000. Donations, sales of assets, hot taxes, franchises. So those are the revenue items that have increased, that I'd like to make amendments for.
Okay.
Special projects in our utility fund. So the first page includes all of our revenue increases. And then our second, next two pages, I think you'll see that some of the reoccurring items are gasoline, grease, and oil. Those were the big one that hit us that we did not have. We didn't know it was coming. And so, but with additional funding in revenue, we're able to cover our increases in expenditures. The other items that under, let's see, Under police, you'll see that there was some savings under police salaries, and those savings were just due to being shorthanded. We didn't have the people on staff that we should have, so we were able to bring a little bit of money in to help cover some of the other expenses, such as overtime. Well, those go hand in hand. If you have fewer people
Yeah, more
and you still have to
overtime.
cover a minimum amount of people on the streets, the overtime went up. So, tools and equipment, I went ahead and included it.
Excuse me?
Tools and equipment, that line item, we do have a grant to come in to cover that, but it doesn't look like it's gonna hit this year. Or am I wrong, Chief? So it's gonna be close, so we went ahead and included it in the amendment, and worst case, or best case, if the grant funding does come in, we'll be ahead in that line item. I'd rather be prepared for it than not. That's for the license plate reader trailer that we were able to get by a grant. Fire and on the fire side, salaries, we initially during our budget workshop last year, we were planning on bringing over the administrative assistant position from the fire department into the utility department. That ended up not going through, so it remained on there. We had the funding, but we had to transfer it back from our utility side back to the fire side to cover the salary that remained in the fire department. A couple more, the travel and training. Once again, the travel and training and maintenance repair to buildings, those are 2 approved items. Well, the travel and training is some grant funding that we may not get this year, but we'll get it next year. And then the maintenance and repair to buildings, that's the expansion of the bay on the side of the building, the metal building was constructed where we have additional equipment. So council approved spending that out of last year's COVID funds. So the $69,000 a pretty good bang for your buck for that big of an expansion on our fire station.
It was required.
Civic Center, some of those increased more so than we were expecting, but revenue increased as well, so that covers that. Utility fund. Our sewer department this year took a hit. We were under several different TCQ inspection and enforcement criteria where they said these items that we know about that we don't have the funding for, they have a way of forcing you to do it whether you have funding for it or not. And that's what you're going to see under materials and supplies. We had to purchase several pumps that we did not have on hand, and repair equipment, maintenance and repair equipment. That line item jumped significantly for us to put one of our clarifiers back online that was down, and then, like I say, some of our equipment that we were relying on. We have lots of redundancy, and you get into a situation where you're relying on your redundant measures, but what if those go out? We have no backup. Some of our pump stations, for instance, they'll have 4 pumps, and you're only using the first 2. You have 2 for backup, but those first 2 were down and hadn't been replaced for years. We're on our last 2, so that there's no redundancies left. So that's what a big push from TCQ was, getting our lift stations and our clarifiers and a lot of our treatment plant pumps primarily up to date. And then the special projects, those are our in and outs on grants, grant
That's
funding.
good. Pretty good. Okay.
Are there other questions? I know I kind of brushed over them, but if y'all want to dig into any of them more, As you see, our Maintenance and Repair Streets Council last year approved $310,000 for purchasing supply materials for repairing streets. And we, council wants, if we have the money, council wants streets done, and we shouldn't be holding money when we can get the work done. And we ended up overspending that line item by $83,000. And so the funding came in, and actually about half of it came in from a FEMA grant that we'd applied for reimbursement in 2018, and we got that this last year.
Awesome.
So
Well, we can see
Any
where our
other-
money is going.
yes, ma'am.
Does anyone?
I'm good.
Laquita? Okay. So, that we're up, if there are no questions, can we get a motion?
I make a motion to approve the resolution for amendments to the fiscal year 2022 budget.
I'll second.
It's been moved in second. All in favor? Motion carries. Thank you. Item number 11, award bid for administrative services related to the 2023 Community Development Block Grant, CDBG, program administered by the Texas Department of Agriculture, TDA.
Mayor and council, we have our letter of recommendation in front of y'all. We received 3 applications, 3 sealed bids, and our scoring committee scored those from using criteria, using previous experience with these companies, as well as their budget or their costs of services. And we're recommending that we award the bid to Trailer and Associates, if that's council's wish.
Any questions?
I make a motion to award the bid to Trailer and Associates.
Second.
All in favor? Motion carried. Thank you. Okay, number 12, consider and approve fiscal year 2023 street repair prioritization.
It's a mouthful.
Yeah, all alliteration.
I was able to speak with Precinct 2 and Precinct 5 council members who are not here tonight, and was able to address their priorities. If council has a response tonight, and we can at least give me the first 2 or 3 streets, which will give us some marching orders over the next few months, and then we can keep updating it, or if something happens during the year and y'all want to reprioritize it, then that's definitely doable. In Precinct 1, we have 8th Street, which is the city's recommendation to go ahead and complete. We did do a hot mix pour down 8th Street in front of Calvary Baptist and First Baptist, but we really need to go in and finish that project. And we're wanting to do that with a hot mix Coley on Federal and the sides end.
Are we doing anything there?
Yes, sir. And MLK is the one that's being funded through the State Infrastructure Bank project.
Okay.
So that, if we were to tackle MLK in our budget, there would be no other streets done. That's a big project, and we're really glad that we could get that worked in through the State Infrastructure Bank program.
Okay.
And it'll be done by outside contractors as well. So that was one recommendation on on the city side, we had also Easy, Red Bud between Gordon and Gray Street. Gray Street is another one that's being addressed in the State Infrastructure Bank project. Wilson, that one's Wilson, Red Bud, Easy, and then you can almost pick any one during in the Rolling Hills subdivision, and a lot of them need addressed in that subdivision. But out of our budget of $350,000, just to give council and the public a little bit of an idea, out of $350,000, it costs us about $50,000, and we expect that to continue shrinking as we're aggressively fixing streets instead of patching them. But it costs us about $50,000 a year just for patch material, to try to address the streets that have not been fixed. We have roughly $60,000 in curb and gutter down Charles and Briar to finish that up from prior project years. And we're needing about $40,000 to chip seal our 2018-2019 roads. Once we do the type of project that we're doing, every 3 to 5 years, you need to go in and do a chip seal over it to prolong its life. So we're not back in the position that we were. And so we're trying to, but what we're doing, we're at the point now, we're a good 4 years in, and we're going back and covering the streets that we did 4 years ago. And that's kind of the trend that we would like to see continue. So we never get back to where we were, or end up back where we were.
So what you were,
So we have about 200,000 of budget to address and bite off more streets.
and what you did address is that if it's something that becomes stronger, needed, you can make some modification as needed, right?
It's just to give council, and I know during the year as you're getting phone calls and complaints or people from, at City Hall are getting complaints, and this kind of gives us the ability to let the public know these are the streets that, we're getting the most complaints on, are in the worst shape, or if we're not doing this street, it might be in bad shape, but this is why. We either have funding through another project, or we're also replacing the water lines. This, like North 3rd right now, on the other side of Brookshire Brothers from Houston to Pease, we're putting all new water lines in. That's why we did not put it in, because we need new water lines, and we're just wasting our money if we don't. So,
As far as the third party on the main streets, is that gonna start sometime soon as far as the streets go?
yes, sir. In that project list, let's see, we expect construction on the SIB, on the State Infrastructure Bank project. We expect that to start second quarter of 2023. That'll be roughly March, April.
That's good.
We have to complete the engineering and bid out all the projects and get the contractors lined up after the 1st of January. So are there any of these that you want me to see? You want?
Those are the main ones in my area that I see.
Which one would you like to see number one? Like I said, if we have 200,000, that's about 40,000 per precinct.
Probably Red Bud. And then Easy.
Oops.
And you just take your pick and Rolling Hills, all of them.
Yes, sir. We have Wilson, and you want us to. Well, we have 8th Street first. Do you want 8th Street? Like I say, that's
I have to go look.
that's about $7,200. So it's most of the work's been done. The biggest bulk of the work's been done. We just need to finish the sides. 8th Street, and then these two is seconds.
Mm-hmm.
Any others?
Woodland Circle, probably.
That's the one on
That
the
pretty much takes
backside.
care of your budget for now. That's the longest one, that's the full
That's
circle.
a big one,
They
yeah.
go all the way
That's the
around.
full circle. Okay. And then as funds, other funds come in or something changes, then,
Yeah.
but this just kind of gives us and the public an idea of what's going on. Precinct 3, Mr. Jackson.
Mhm.
North Third is
Yeah.
that one that I was talking about that we're just doing the
Right.
water lines on.
And also Sycamore and Burleson.
Okay, all the way from Burleson to the end.
Mm-hmm.
All right, that's about 32,000.
Then you said that Cedar was gonna fall under that other?
S- Um, half
Went
of
into-
Cedar.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
One part of it.
Yeah.
The worst part of Cedar should fall under the State Infrastructure Bank. Yes. So if you want to hold off on that one, any of these three, I would say are the, well, not, let's see, these two. Wise is definitely in really bad condition, but it's also, except at one end, who they can bring it, come in from the other direction, there's no one that lives on Wise.
Well, that's kind of like Third. I mean,
Yes,
it's almost washed out to the.
there's
dirt,
nothing left.
right beside the shop there.
Burtis
Yeah.
and West Side, I would say, are probably, as far as many people live there in their condition, they're really,
What's that road over by Brookshire's, beside Brookshire's over there?
That's the
I know
one-
it's
the
in
North
2.
Third.
That's in 2, right?
no, sir. That's this one right here, North Third Street,
Is it?
Houston to
Oh,
Pease.
okay, it's in 3.
This one right here.
Boy, that one
Are
needs
we
bad.
addressing Cedar?
Yeah.
Through the State
One end
Infrastructure
of it.
Bank, a big majority, the worst part of Cedar will be addressed through that, yes, sir.
Okay.
Gossett's really bad,
Bells and Cedar.
across from 4th Street all the way
Yeah,
to the
Cedar.
adult probation office. That one's rough.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Then Bells and Cedar to the railroad
Yeah.
track.
Second
Yes.
Street.
There's a lot of
Yeah.
traffic over there.
Yeah.
Well, you can tell, yeah.
Second Street to Pease. It's y'all stopped off just in
We
front of
stopped
St.
at-
Paul.
We stopped at Bonham so we could continue from Bonham on over to Bell. This actually includes all the way to the dead end
Okay.
of 2nd Street. I'm sorry, actually 2nd Street, Bonham to dead end is in your precinct. Yeah, you're right. Yes, ma'am. So this is where we stopped at Fannin Street back towards Goliad,
I think we need
down
to,
Camp Street.
if we can pick up there, would be great. Finish that up.
Okay?
Yeah. I mean, there's so much need.
There is.
It's
Or-
unreal.
Or the pig.
Yeah. But you get there, one street at a time.
Well, those three eat up a little bit more than 40,000.
So,
Okay?
okay.
And then I think
You got mine.
I got, okay,
Yeah,
so
it's
yours was Curtis, Thomas, second. So that'll actually, with his side, in Mr. Jackson's precinct,
Mhm.
and yours catching the other end, that'll complete 2nd Street out.
And then,
And then for Southwestern,
yep.
okay. That gives us
Something to
at
work
least a
with.
month or two of work.
Yeah,
Yep.
okay. Okay, so,
We gotta make a motion.
Need to make a motion on that, guys?
yeah, I was trying to.
That'd be,
see-
yes, sir.
I make a motion, we approve the fiscal year 2023 street repair for our organization.
That's second.
Okay, it's been moved and second, all in favor? Motion carries. Okay, item number 13, consider and approve liquidation of Crockett Economic and Industrial Development Corporation's 2014 and 2016 Prosperity Bank debt.
Mayor, City Council, over the last 2 months, our board has been looking at our financials and looking at how better to project our expenditures in terms of debts that we owe. We basically have 2 loans that we have with our organization. One being USDA loan with funding from the tech center, and the other was a loan that we have been paying down that we arranged through Prosperity Bank. That was a long-term debt that tracks all the way back even before 2014. We are financially in a pretty good place right now. We have a balance that's over $700,000 in the bank. And the note that we're wanting to liquidate is a note of Prosperity, which value is at $315,284.03 as of today. It's a 3.95 interest rate, but the note has been a long-term note that we felt like we were in a position now to liquidate that note from our debt responsibility. The board met and voted to bring this before the city for approval.
Did council approve that debt?
Yes.
Did they?
There was some concerns, not that that's not a good move financially, but right in the middle of what you're working on right now. How does it fit in the scope of everything? With the audit that's about to go through, I didn't know if it would interfere at any point with that. I mean, that was the concern that was voiced earlier.
Well, from the standpoint that this has been a note that we've been paying on religiously and diligently to pay it down, we wanted to look at our overall, or I was directed by our board to look at our overall debt situation in such a way that we could eliminate unnecessary debts that we're paying. This is the one that was identified as the one that we could do away with and actually put that money to future expenditures for projects that we have in the future plans.
Did anyone?
Do you know, Mr. Gentry, exactly when this debt may have been incurred?
Well, if
Somebody.
you're asking for a history lesson, the note was initiated in 2004.
In 4, okay.
Thanks,
The note was paid down, renegotiated in 2014, and then again in 2016, we brought it down to approximately $600,000. Since that time, we've been paying it off on a religiously steady base. Banker was happy to take our money and was happy to, when I talked to him the other day about paying it off, he thought that it would be a good thing just to eliminate the debt as a whole. And, but the note has been a long-term debt. It's a debt that actually, for y'all's knowledge, was done with the city's approval to help the city. It goes back to the state school.
Back then when that facility, I forget the name of it, that came
Cornerstone.
Cornerstone, thank you, yeah. And that was incurred for incentives, things of that nature.
Actually, it's pretty much, it was not so much we gave them money, but we actually renovated the state school itself.
Yeah.
$0.3 was put into the state school.
Okay.
How was the debt leveraged?
2014, there was a resolution, I think it was R6-06-04, that was supplemented or backed by the city, or guaranteed by the city.
With city assets,
Sales tax,
just sales tax?
yes. We are totally funded by sales tax only. And the only thing other than that is when we are able to get any revenues that come from sales or of property, or where we leased or are able to take advantage of leases of buildings.
It hasn't been said, but I'd like to add that our note payment is $7,400 a month, which we'd be able to eliminate.
Right.
We would also save roughly $27,000 in interest by paying this off early, and that's certainly two of the motivating factors.
So, the board just decided at this current time to pay that debt off, is that right?
We've talked about this for several months to give the board members time to do their homework and talk to financial advisors. We've talked to the ones that the city uses and get their input and wisdom, and they all have said it's an old debt. Your multiple owners removed, so to speak, although we were never the owner. Time to get rid of it, save the money.
Well, anytime you can pay a debt off is a good thing, you understand, but I'm concerned, and it is a concern, I think, of some council members as to the timing as we approach the possibility of doing this forensic audit, and so that is a great concern. Is the debt payoff is something that we could probably do at a later point?
That's
you can-
y'all's decision. I don't see it that way. I know that we can save $27,000 right now. I hate to let one of our board members ask, well, what happens if we wait till the fourth year, the last year? We have 4 more to pay. I said, by then it's all principal. There's no interest to save.
Yes.
If we don't do this, then we lose that opportunity, and I would say, yeah, forget it, don't pay it off, just let it go on. But we have the opportunity to save that money and recapture that $7,400 a month that we're currently paying. Actually, we started talking about this when I was on the board in 2017. This has been an ongoing target of ours to eliminate.
Yeah.
We have the funds to pay for our share of the forensic audit. Obviously, we felt like we should pay it off.
Okay.
Turn it over to y'all.
What is the, I mean, I was trying to follow you, I kind of mixed it, I'm not the numbers person, English major, but what is the time frame? If it's like a month different or 2 months, would you lose the,
$35 a day, $1,000 a month.
okay,
Our waiting, the 2 months that we waited, and
Okay.
this cost us $2,000. But we needed to gather our own information, talk to the same people that the city uses for bonds, which ours isn't a bond, but still, you go to the experts, and that's where we're at.
like I said, I think the major concern was how is it going to flow with what's already in place? By what I'm saying, that when they start bringing in and checking, we've already selected somebody that's going to look at the finances across the book, and it's not one that's tied directly to Mr. Gentry, you know, in terms of that. You know, this is an older debt that was put in place. What I'm saying, when they look, and we have requested that we go back before you and include it all, I'm wondering if when they start asking at that point for the information and going through as a forensic audit would do, would it impede what they were trying to look on a long range scale as opposed to a short range?
Well, the history of the debt would still be there in the records. We pay $7,400 a month on this debt.
Yes, I understand.
If council approved it, we could write 48 $7,400 checks tomorrow and pay it off. So it's just a matter of accelerating the payment that we're already making.
Yeah, I understood, I understood it, but I was just saying if you were like we're right in the middle of having a full review. And I'm wondering if you make a decision like at this point, would it slow down the review or would it interfere if they're gonna look at the entire review? You understand what I'm saying? Before, if we went back that far, and I think there was a request that it was gonna go back farther than what the current board had created.
I think this debt goes back past the time of your beginning.
That's what I'm saying, prior to you.
Yeah.
And even though it's offering a solution, I'm wondering if, because there was always some concerns about how it had been handled. But I mean, it's not directly tied to what you all have done. It was tied to basic, some decisions that were made.
I think the city administrator has even gone so far as to call council in Austin regarding the paperwork that's been reviewed by 2 large firms used by the city. Both of them, and they're aware of the forensic audit and everything else. We were following their lead.
I understand.
They're the experts, and so they felt like, yeah, you should pay it off. But that was our decision, not yours.
Because even though, I mean, if you pay it off, they still gonna pull up the past. Oh, yeah, they had this debt, but it's been paid off under Mr. Gentry. So,
Yeah.
how would you? I mean, even though they pull up the friend, do the audit. Yeah, they pulled up that they made this debt back in 2004, but here in 2022, Mr. Gentry stepped up and went on and paid it off. You know, I don't know.
I really don't know.
We have, I know you're coming out in a different direction,
Yeah,
but we have ample cash with bank support to cover anything that may come up. The history of the loan is there, whether it's still active or paid off, at least my way of thinking. That doesn't, us taking this action doesn't change the history of it.
The history of
It's within our rights as our
Right.
corporation to pay this off, but obviously, y'all have to say. I sat in council meeting a few months ago and we scrambled around to find this money to make sure our city employees, we're trying to get into that spirit
I
and
appreciate that.
eliminate debt where we can and save money where we can.
And I don't think it was an objection to saving that money. It was just objection to consider, not objections, it's a consideration about the time and what, everything's on the board at the same time and not having to redo something if it didn't pan out across the board. So I think, I understand what you're saying. I think it's a great thing to pay off debt. I think that's a great move, but I think the consideration was the timing that is taking place
The
now.
current atmosphere, pardon my interruption, Mayor, the current atmosphere of what's happening with the entity is paying off the debt. That's great, whether it's personal or whether it's business. Anytime you do that, but I'm a little bit concerned about making any major moves, whether that be financial, whatever, until we get a full picture of what is being done, what has been done in the past before you got there, Mr. Gentry. But I'm just one on the council. There are others.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Do we have any other concern, question? Mr. Gentry, did you have anything else?
Well, the bottom line is that, and Mr. Thompson just said, documentation's there. For the history of the note, gone back and researched it, as he said, with bankers and financial advisors, and to a person, each one of them has been very supportive and very, to the idea of liquidating this debt, not to hide anything,
No.
things such as that, but the idea is that we're in a financial position to be able to handle liquidating the debt, and only have one major debt on our books, and be better for it, I believe.
Well, it'll only take 3 months to do the audit anyway, correct? So we could always pay the debt off later, right?
That was the max timeline that we gave him.
Mm-hmm. So it could be done earlier than that.
We have an idea of how much we're going to be putting up for this forensic audit.
Should be no more than 50,000, right? If we're splitting it.
Well,
We're getting we don't have a final quote on it until.
They said no more
this
than
week.
100,000.
Split
Split would be 50. No more than.
from your area. It is.
When y'all disclose the cost, for the forensic audit?
When he comes in,
Can't
when
really
they
talk
finish
about
their,
that.
oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Mr. Gentry is, and we're just talking in terms of, yes, I did deviate, but got excited. So, council, what is your pleasure?
I say we table it until the forensic audit is complete and we get the findings.
What is the turnaround time?
Less than
audit?
Is it less than?
90 days, they said. That was our RFQ requirements, or our RFP requirements, is that it be done in less than 90 days.
Okay.
Okay, yes,
Well, I make a motion, we table it.
it's been moved. Do we have a second? Okay, for lack of a second, the motion dies. But now we need a motion, so what would you like to do?
In light of the current atmosphere, and what is happening with economic development, the records, the documentation for the loan are there for review to anyone that want to. I was not around when the loan was incurred, but when I look at the flip side of that and the money that the city can save in the process and the good that that can do as far as budgetary matters, I make a motion that we consent to them paying the debt off. And if anyone, auditors or whoever want to review that, it's still available there for review. So I have a motion on the floor.
It is a motion on the floor.
Yeah.
Second.
We have a second. All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries. Okay. Go right there. And with that, have brings our meeting to a close.